Hi everyone, I don't think we need to make a lot of mystery about this video. You've seen the thumbnail and read the title. We're gonna talk about this guy, the Peavey ValveKing Royal 8. I got this today and some interesting stuff about it. Let's check this out. Okay, before we talk about this amplifier, I want to talk about the history of small tube amplifiers like this. You see, back in 1999, I was looking for a tube amplifier for my guitar, and I was surprised to see that they were very expensive. You have to pay somewhere around $800 to $1,000 for a tube amplifier. Yeah, so that was a lot of money. And to my surprise, in around 2004, 2005, I was able to find a tube amplifier, a Vox AC15, not a hybrid this time, for $500. And the magic was that these old amplifiers, very expensive ones, were made in the US or the UK, and they were expensive, they were high-end. These new, more affordable guitar amplifiers using tube technology, they were made in China, and the prices were more affordable. I'm not gonna say cheap, $500 is still a lot of money. Then, a few years later, we saw these type of amplifiers appearing on the market, and this time they were even more affordable. I would even say cheap now, for something around $200. I am talking retail. We were able to get a tube amplifier, 5 watts, but plenty enough to wake up the neighbors. And yeah, they were made by Peavey, like this one, or Fender, the Champion 600, or Epiphone Valve Jr., and many others. These were all the craze. Something I noticed when I got this in a pawn shop today was this. Instead of the 12AX7 common tube on this one, it's a 12AU7, and you see, the 12AU7 has a lower gain than the 12AX7, and I was like, yeah, I know. This amplifier probably sounds too muddy, and the owner went online and saw that the 12AU7 has a lower gain, so maybe it would fix the amp. It does. The amp has a less gain, but it doesn't sound as good as it's intended to be. So I said, well, maybe this amp has been modded. This is also something you need to be careful about when buying these second-hand in 2021. These were literally mod galore. The internet was full of forums and blogs about modifications for these type of amps. They were cheap, so people didn't mind swapping components, and some people, as I did, learned electronics while tinkering on cheaper amps like this. But sometimes you get lucky, you get an amp that has been modified with high-end mercury magnetics transformers and new old stock US Army tubes, and maybe a Weber Alnico speaker inside. And sometimes you're not so lucky and you get a bodged amplifier with resistors hanging around, sometimes tacked in with glue. I've seen that sadly. And I was afraid because the 12AU7 made me think maybe this amp has been modded. But it was very cheap, and I said, well, for that kind of money I got 2 tubes, 2 transformers, a speaker, a chassis and a cab. So even if everything is mangled inside, it's not a big deal. Well, I was wrong. I was wrong. And then I looked at the schematic, and I saw this. This is a 100 nanofarad signal cap. And see, this is a 6BQ512AX7 schematic. It's pretty classic. I built an amplifier using this schematic. It's going to be the subject of a future video anyways. And on these schematics, on these circuits, 22 nanofarads is more than enough. You see, if you increase the value of these capacitors, well, you may get into issues like oscillation, but If you increase the value of the signal caps, you increase the frequency response. And by going with 100 nanofarad, you increase the base frequency response. And what's gonna happen is it's gonna sound fine with clean sounds, but as soon as you wanna crank it up a little, it's gonna sound all nutty. And I said, well, if this amp hasn't been tinkered inside, maybe it's just swapping a component. And that's what I did. Now this amp sounds pretty good. I put a Ruby 12AX7 I had laying around, and well, talking about it is fine, but let's have a listen. Okay, so I plugged it in and we're gonna turn it on. All the knobs are at 0. One thing I modified is this power switch, because the original one was not bad, but it was kind of stiff. And something else I did was this thing over here. You see, it was originally fitted with an LED, and I replaced it by a classical light bulb. And some of you might be saying, well, it's dangerous because it's gonna draw more current onto the power transformer. And I'm like, hey, if your power transformer is in danger with a small light bulb like this, your power transformer ain't good. Anyways, it's turned on, and as you can hear, you hear nothing. It's a very, very, very faint buzz. Nothing unexpected from a tube amplifier, and only if you put your ear close to the speaker you're gonna hear something. It's very silent, and pretty kind of like it. So I'm gonna use the first input. I tuned up my guitar now, and I'm gonna put the tone control in the middle, just a little bit of the master and the gain. And remember, it's the microphone from the camera, so do not expect studio quality music. And after all, I'm not a studio quality guitar player. So anyways, let's give it a shot. Let's drop the pick for a second. The tone control is pretty efficient. It reacts the same as the Fender Princeton, so yeah, it's pretty good. Look at this, very bright and clean. If you put it on the middle, it's gonna be a little bit more darker. And it only works at low volume. As soon as you increase the volume, the tone control behaves a little bit different, but you'll see that in a second. So this is the I'm not very much for clean sound, so let's crunch it a little. So like that. See, the gain is well, it's at 1 o'clock, and it's already pretty nice like this. You see, the tone control here doesn't sound good, so you just put it up a little bit. And if you reduce the tone control on your guitar, it gets like something more like this. And that's what I call a good setup. Just a little bit less on the guitar, and it goes in like this. This is what I call a crunchy sound, but now let's get it into something a little bit more raunchy, let's say. I think these amps, they need to be played at full power. I'm not Jeremy Clarkson's son, but I think power solves everything. Let's go. So, what are my final thoughts about this? Well, it sounds good to me, at least, and I appreciate the build quality. If you can have a look at this, there is belt-on tube sockets, and everything is neat and tidy. I see capacitors too. They didn't go on the cheap to get a non-brand capacitors, like some other brands did, sadly. The heater wires and high voltage wire are twisted together, which acts as cancelling, and we heard that there's basically no hum with this. It's good for the studio and a very good practice amp. I like it. I also enjoy the Celestion speaker on the back. We always say that the best and first mod you should do on a tube amp is upgrading the speaker, and I don't think I would need to upgrade the speaker on this. It's a Celestion. I know it's a Chinese Celestion. It's not an Alnico speaker, but I don't think an Alnico speaker would fit an amplifier like this. As you heard, it's very good for high volume and crunchy sounds. Clean sounds, well, maybe I was not able to pull out some good sounds with this, but hey, it's not meant for this. It's an amp that is best suitable at high volume, high distortion, all the way to the maximum. It's a punk amp, and you should like it. Anyways, that's all I've got for you today. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Goodbye.